This is a continuation video about talking about unwrapping the credenza. The place that we stopped in the previous video was a good spot if this is kind of your first time unwrapping, but I kind of wanted to show some more advanced ideas in this one if you did want to take your model a bit further. I do apologize that the texture does look a little bit different. I'm working on a different computer and forgot to transfer that wood grain material, so I did have to find one real quickly to drop it on. But this works well for what we need to demonstrate. Specifically, what I'm talking about fixing is how our wood pieces are coming together in the corners. So we have these edges right here that when they meet, our wood grain is kind of meeting at this 90-degree angle. And that's not really how most wood that's been carpentered looks. They don't meet at 90-degree angles, they meet at these 45-degree angles like we did on the door. If you are near like a wood door frame or a picture frame, take a look at how the corners look, and in most circumstances they do meet at a 45-degree, not this 90-degree. This will be a good opportunity to show you some tools, a couple new concepts. The one thing I would like to mention is it is very common while you're 3D modeling, you model, you unwrap, and then you realize that there's something wrong with the model or something you want to tweak after you've unwrapped it. And you really don't want to spend a lot of extra time re-unwrapping pieces. So by default, if I open up that UV editor, and I'll kind of keep it maybe over to this side, and I'm going to zoom in so we can watch this. So I'm going to get my my vertex select. I'm going to select this vertice, and if I move it up and down, we notice that the vertex moves in 3D space, but it does not move in UV space. So what happens is our UVs become distorted. So if we needed to do like significant work here, like let's say like, oh no, this is way too short, I need to move this up, we're going to have to go back and re-unwrap that. And that is not very efficient. So I want to show you this tool we have over here. Well, I guess it's more of a setting. If you double click on your move tool, it should pull up a tool settings dialog box, and we have this option here called preserve UVs. If we check this on, move this to the side, and then we move our UVs, our vertices, we can see that it not only moves them in 3D space, it also moves them in UV space so that we preserve that unwrap. This is not like a 100% always works kind of a thing. If it can't successfully do the move, I'll try to do one on purpose. Let's move this like a crazy amount. Do you notice how it's snapping back? And this might occur when you don't mean for it to, like you forget that this setting was turned on and you start moving it. You're like, why is it not moving? Notice the error down here. Error, unable to preserve UVs, disable preserve UV option to continue to this edit. So don't forget to turn it off if you don't mean to do that. It also won't allow you to do it if it's not possible to preserve the UVs. So if you're trying to move something dramatically or dramatically, it's not going to do it. But we're not doing very big dramatic moves. We just need to do some little tiny moves. So let me close this. I'm going to keep preserve UVs on. And what I want to fix is this corner right here. So we kind of more or less want to cut this corner and extend this upwards. We don't just want to grab this and kind of eyeball move it, because this is not good modeling practice. Instead, we can utilize the target weld. See right here, target weld? If we click and drag and then snap into that one, what it will do is weld those two vertices together so that that space in the middle doesn't exist anymore. Like it gets rid of this triangle part right here. Same thing, if we want it to be clean, we should probably snap that over. And, you know, we do probably want to clean up some of this, but we do have to be aware when we start cleaning things up, it might have unintended consequences elsewhere. So we have to be mindful that we're not accidentally creating n-gons or polygons that have more than 4 sides. So like we could easily clean this up this, like this, pop these over. And we can start to see there are areas that, you know, do we really need this edge here? Probably not. We probably want to weld these up so it looks a little bit cleaner. But we can't just come down here and do a similar thing. Like, we can't just weld that over because we're going to start losing our feet. So we need to be very mindful of where we're target welding to clean things up. Like here, I'm like, oh, let's fix this. Let's make this like a nice, we have to cut this and move this over, but that's not going to happen because we're going to lose our feet. So we'd have to be a little bit more tricky with this if this is something we really wanted to do. Again, we are just learning 3D modeling, so if you want to fix it in some spots and maybe leave it in other spots because you're not super comfortable with that, that's fine. Move these over. And in some instances, you might end up with triangles, and if we're kind of cleaning things up, it's okay at the level we're at to leave some triangles around. So target weld, we can also delete edges, but we need to be careful about deleting edges. So I'm going to show you for instance over here. So I'm going to fix this edge right here, same way I did before. Let's move that up. And I want to get rid of this ugliness, like this. Ooh, this made a giant mess. I can just double click an edge, and if I hold down the control key and press delete, it will delete that edge for me. The reason I have to hold control to do this is if I don't, I just select the edge and hit delete, it leaves those vertices behind, and these create n-gons. That still is registered in the program, so we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-sided polygon now, even though it doesn't look like it because those are kind of almost, you know, those edges are straight. So that's kind of a waste of resources for us. So if I hold control and then delete it, it also will delete any vertices it doesn't need. But look what happened down here. We now have this really weird and strange polygon. We really don't want polygons that are super flat like this. It causes problems. So we would have to be, you know, figure out how we're going to fix this. We could always, you know, there's multiple ways, but if you're not super comfortable yet with doing stuff like that, just leave it alone. You can start tackling these when you're a little bit more confident. But we can easily get rid of this one. Watch. I'm going to double click. I can even look. Where is this all connected to? All the way up to there. So I'm going to hold control and delete, and we got rid of that one. We can target weld this vertex over. Then we can get rid of this one, because this one's just going to get rid of it along the top. We have a little bit cleaner of a model. Maybe I'll target weld these over because it's bothering me, just to kind of clean those up a little bit. That's not the greatest solution in the world, but for our, you know, I'd rather you leave it if you're still uncomfortable, and we can later in the semester, when you're more confident with your 3D modeling, fix that. I'm not too concerned with this, but I can show you how to fix this real quick. So if we deselect it, if it does bother you, you do want to kind of have that angle. It's going to be a little bit more involved than just what we did. What I would do, I would get my multi-cut tool and split this. We can then get rid of these right here. And then we're going to have to then fix this inner UV. So watch this. Let me save it. I'm going to open up the UV editor. And I am going to locate where this is. So I'm going to just select it. Let's find it. If I hit F, I'll find it. And it's just kind of attached to this. So I'm going to break this up. I'm going to hit Control-Shift-X to detach it. And then I need to find where this edge is right here. So let me select this. It might be a little bit easier to find. So it's this bottom edge right here. Oh, there it is right there. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to deselect and then select this. Right click, do a cut sew, move and sew, and reattach it. And if we look, we now have a nice clean piece. We can't get rid of this though. We can't get rid of this cut because if we did, like, oh, let's just clean this up now. It'll mess up our leg. So we need it there, but we have that nice kind of corner piece now that looks closer to what you would expect wood grain to be. I'm fine with it being like this here. You could always be really fancy if you wanted to, and like kind of cut these in half and like do kind of like a wedgie, like a triangle that goes here and here. But that's getting a little bit complex, and honestly a lot of furniture, if you do have like that middle thing, would just look like this. So that's kind of all I really wanted to show is, you know, we can come back in and change UVs after the fact if we notice little mistakes. If we had broad mistakes, most likely we would need to come in and remodel some things and then re-unwrap those specific pieces. We don't have to start from scratch, but like if I decided that I needed, for some reason, these extruded up. Actually, it won't let me at first because I need to turn off preserve UVs. It'll snap back down. Like, oh, this actually should have been like this. We're going to have to come in and do some cleanup. This will probably stay fine, but like these edges are all messed up. So small tweaks to UVs, fine after the fact. By utilizing target weld and maybe some multi-cuts to cut between vertices, as well as turning on preserve UVs.